You may think quiet people in groups are weak, but maybe the quiet person is not weak at all. Maybe they are the one noticing everything. They notice the small pause after someone says they are fine. They notice who looks away when a hard question comes up. They notice who talks too much because they are nervous and who stays busy because they do not want to feel something. And maybe that is why you feel so tired after being around people. Not because you hate people, but because your brain is working in silence. You are not just hearing words. You are reading the room. You are reading faces. You are reading tone. You are reading what people are trying to hide. And still, when everyone laughs, talks, and moves fast, you sit there with thoughts you cannot say quickly enough. Then later, when you are alone, the perfect words come. And you ask yourself, why couldn't I say that before? This is where many quiet people start to judge themselves. They think, I am too slow. I am not confident. People must think I am boring. But psychology tells a deeper story. Some brains are not built to react fast. They are built to process deeply. In a group, some people think out loud. They speak first, then understand what they mean. But quiet people often understand first, then speak. That small delay can look like fear from the outside. But inside, something more complex is happening. Your brain is checking the room. Is this safe to say? Will this hurt someone? Does this matter? Is this the right moment? What is really going on here? That is not emptiness. That is filtering. And filtering is not always a weakness. It is one of the ways the brain protects you from careless action. Your brain has a part that helps you pause before you speak. It helps you stop an impulse, think about results, and choose better words. This is why quiet people often say less, but when they speak, people remember it. Their words have weight because they have passed through thought. But there is another side to it. When this filter becomes too strong, it can trap you. You do not just ask, what should I say? You start asking, how will they see me? What if I sound stupid? What if I say it wrong? What if they ignore me? Now your brain is no longer only observing the group. It is observing you being observed. That is when quietness starts to feel painful. It stops feeling like peace. It starts feeling like a cage. And this is why the secret power of quiet people is not silence. The real power is attention. Quiet people often have strong attention for hidden details. They notice patterns others miss. They remember what someone said weeks ago. They sense when the mood changes. They can feel when a conversation becomes fake. This happens because the brain has limited energy. When you are not using all your energy to perform, impress, or control the room, more of your attention is free to observe. It is like standing at the edge of a river while everyone else is swimming in it. You can see the current. You can see who is tired. You can see where the water is pulling people. But here is the important part. Standing at the edge forever can also keep you disconnected. So the goal is not to become loud. The goal is to turn quiet awareness into quiet presence. There is a big difference. Quiet awareness means you notice everything, but keep it all inside. Quiet presence means you still notice everything, but you let the room feel that you are there. And you can do this without becoming someone else. The first thing to understand is this. Your brain does better when the task is small. If you tell yourself, I need to be more social, your brain hears a huge task. It becomes too big, too unclear, too hard to start. But if you give your brain one small doorway, it becomes easier. Instead of trying to speak a lot, prepare one simple line. Say, that is interesting, or I noticed something, or can I add one thought? This works because the brain likes clear steps. A small line lowers pressure. It gives your mind a way into the conversation before fear blocks the door. For example, maybe your friends are talking about a movie. Everyone is giving quick opinions. Instead of trying to sound clever, you say, I noticed the ending felt sadder than people expected. That is enough. You opened the door. You did not force yourself. You simply gave your thought a place to stand. The second thing is to speak from observation, not performance. Quiet people often freeze because they try to match the loudest person in the room. But your strength is not volume. Your strength is what you notice. So use that. If people are arguing in a meeting, you do not have to fight for attention. You can say, I think we are mixing two problems together. That sentence is calm, but it can change the room. It works because observation takes your brain out of self-focus. When you focus too much on yourself, your nervous system becomes tense. You start tracking your voice, your face, your words, your body. That makes speaking harder. But when you focus on what is happening outside you, the brain relaxes a little. It stops asking, how do I look? And starts asking, what is true here? That is where quiet people become powerful. They do not need to win the room. They can name what the room is avoiding. The third thing is to ask better questions. A question is one of the safest ways for a quiet person to speak, because you are not trying to dominate. You are guiding attention, and the right question can stop a noisy conversation without sounding aggressive. If everyone is rushing into a plan, you can ask, "What part of this might be harder than we think?" If someone says they are fine but clearly looks hurt, you can ask, "Do you want advice, or do you just want someone to listen?" This works because questions slow the brain down. Most groups run on automatic behavior. People react, they repeat opinions, they follow the loudest voice. A good question interrupts that pattern. It brings the thinking brain back online. And often, the quiet person is the one who sees the question everyone else missed. The fourth thing is to stop treating silence as disappearance. This is important because people cannot always read your inner world. You may be listening deeply, you may care a lot, you may understand more than anyone knows. But if you give no signal, people may fill your silence with their own story. They may think you are bored, or upset, or judging them. So use small signals: a nod, eye contact, a short reply, a message later. These are not fake social tricks, they are signals of presence. The human brain is always trying to predict if it is safe with others. Small signs help people know you are with them. For example, maybe you did not say much when a friend opened up. Later you send one message: "What you said stayed with me. I hope you are okay." That small message can mean more than a long speech, because quiet care often feels deeper when it is specific. The fifth thing is to protect your depth from overthinking. This may be the most important part. The same brain that notices everything can also replay everything. After a group hangout, you may go home and review every moment. Why did I say that? Why did they look at me that way? Was I weird? Did I talk too little? This is not reflection anymore. This is rumination. Reflection helps you learn. Rumination makes your brain feel like the danger is still happening. It turns a normal social moment into a loop. So after being around people, give your mind one better question. Not, "What did they think of me?" Ask, "What did I learn?" That question changes the direction of your attention. It takes you out of shame and puts you into understanding. Maybe you learned that one person talks when they are nervous. Maybe you learned that you need more time before speaking. Maybe you learned that your silence was not rejection. It was processing. This matters because your brain becomes what it practices. If you practice replaying shame, your brain gets better at shame. If you practice finding meaning, your brain gets better at meaning. And quiet people need meaning more than noise. So the secret power of quiet people in groups is not that they never speak. It is that they often hear the second conversation. Every group has two conversations: the one people say out loud and the one happening underneath. The spoken conversation says, "We are just joking." The hidden conversation says someone feels left out. The spoken conversation says everything is fine. The hidden conversation says no one wants to be honest yet. The spoken conversation moves fast. The hidden conversation waits for someone careful enough to notice it. And often, that person is quiet. Maybe that is you. Maybe you are not silent because you have nothing inside. Maybe you are silent because your mind is holding too much at once. Too much detail, too much feeling, too much truth. But your quietness becomes powerful only when you stop hiding inside it. You do not need to become loud. You do not need to become the center. You do not need to perform confidence. You only need to send a signal, one honest sentence, one clear question, one small observation. That is enough to let your depth enter the room. Because the world does not only need louder voices, it also needs cleaner ones. It needs people who can pause before reacting. People who can see what others miss. People who can listen without rushing to fill the air. So the next time you are quiet in a group, do not quickly call it weakness. Maybe your mind is not empty. Maybe it is developing the picture. And when the right moment comes, you may not need many words. Because sometimes one quiet sentence can reveal what the whole room has been trying not to say.